let's go back and see what happened last week, first of all. It was very unusual. It's kind of rare, actually, for markets to just sort of fall 5 days in a row, and those days being Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I don't think that's happened in about 3 or 4 years. That's just a strange anomaly. I don't read too much into it, but I do find that interesting that even when you have periods of sustained declines, they're usually just not confined to one calendar week. That's also, I'm not too troubled by that. First of all, considering the move that we've had since Christmas, I think a little consolidation was due. Secondly, the decline was not all that terrible, not all that sharp. Again, consolidation in the face of a strongly rising market is really not unhealthy, and I'm actually going to argue quite healthy. Trees don't grow to the sky, markets don't go to the moon. It is reasonable to expect markets to have a little bit of a pullback. And it's been my contention that I think the market around here, around the 2,800-ish level on the S&Ps, requires a bit of consolidation, backing and filling, churning, because that's just the sort of movement that a healthy market needs. I'd be very worried if we just continue to appreciate at the pace we're appreciating. One piece of irony that seems to be lost on a lot of the financial media is they keep telling you that this is the sharpest rise to a new year since 1987. Well, that ended well. So remember that you don't want to see this continue. It would take a lot for this to be 1987. By the way, the rally continued at this pace for months, while the bond market was basically moving in the opposite direction, and eventually you hit valuation levels on both stocks and bonds that required that led to some real asset allocation trades, and the effect of those were exacerbated by very specific factors involving portfolio insurance and stuff that I just don't really have the time to get into here. I'll be happy to expound on it another time if people are interested. But we came in on Monday and saw the markets just ripping higher, and just the S&Ps were up marginally in the beginning of the day. The Dow was down sharply because of the Boeing overweighting in the Dow. But then it just sort of seemed like this risk-on day throughout the day. I always wonder where these things come from. Like, who decides that today it's safe to get back in the water? I still believe that it's FOMO. I think that what you see on a day like that is people saying, "Oops, I'm not in the market. I'm underinvested. I better be invested." Another thing to keep in mind is this is a major expiration week. Triple witching and quadruple witching are not what they used to be. The markets have learned to deal with them much better than they had in the past. But you do have a lot of people trading into expiration week because there are positions that need to be squared away, and you do find that there's some interesting stuff going on in the various markets that lead people to be taking positions on or losing positions, and you do seem to find a little bit more, if not volatility, a bit more of a one-way type of trade on an intraday basis. So I'm not going to read too much into it. On Tuesday, we did see a continuation. Again, I just feel that there is this underlying fear of missing out that's pushing the markets higher. It's not necessarily a bad way to be invested, but not necessarily the right way if you don't have to be invested and don't feel comfortable. I think the market is sort of looking through things like Brexit, some other things that are really potentially very scary on the horizon. The market reacted poorly to poor economic numbers and poor comments out of the ECB. On the other hand, Mr. Powell was on 60 Minutes on Sunday and didn't say anything too terrible, and that could have been a reason to get risk on. I think it's still watch and wait. I think we're going to see a lot of back and forth. So I wouldn't read too much into either into last week's downtrend or this week's rally at the beginning of the week. I think it's remains a time to be nimble and not necessarily be too wedded to any one specific idea or one thesis.